But it got to the point where I didn't do a preview at all. I just did aggressive crowd work for about 40 minutes. And it got to the point where one of them whispered something to his friend, and I went, "Oh, what's it?" And as I went back to address him again for like talking again, he went, "Oh no, not again!" I was like, genuinely said that out loud. Like, now I have to have my appearance and education level criticized again. by this velvet bully. Olga, do you find that these could you call them Tom Clancy dads?
Ooh,
Clancy,
absolutely.
The sum of all dads.
The sum of all dads, exactly, yeah.
Clear and present.
That's Clancy dads could be your, like, that would be like, if they were a political demographic, that would be their nickname.
Absolutely. And I think it's men who are there because they want to have sex with me, but the excuse is they want to hear what I say because they think I'm quote unquote like doing smart comedy. But but it's still, they don't see me as intelligent. They see me as one to be corrected.
Right, okay.
Do they yell out?
No, but they will come linger after the show and just fact check one of my bits as an excuse to talk to me.
The linger. I did that with Pierre.
It's true, yeah.
I truly believe it.
It literally did. Pierre and I, the first time we met was because I yelled out at his Edinburgh
Riley.
show.
Oh, honey.
But in a welcome way.
And now
it did work.
No, you're giving people false
Any
hope.
Canadians in?
Okay, listen to me now. If you like a comedian, then if you want to be real life friends with a comedian, then if you heckle them exactly right, you'll become collaborators some years in the future.
What did you do? Correct a Beowulf quote? What did you do?
There would never be an incorrect Beowulf in a Novelli show.
Thank you.
I am shocked.
Thank you.
No, I think we alluded to it, but didn't actually talk about it on another episode.
I alluded to a video game and Riley correctly guessed it.
He was setting up the crowd to guess like Civilization 5, and I was like, that's Europa Universalis 4.
And he was bang on.
Nice. Oh, good job.
That's
very good job.
Well, I'm now, in terms of to be clear for the listener and viewer, we're discussing our audiences and their vibes.
One of my jokes needed a sort of simplification of a UK immigration policy. And the cues that would line up after the show to fact check me on that.
Well, because it's your audience is like a Jeremy Vine listening sort of continuity remain dad, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like if they were me in 10 years. I'm already on Vine.
So essentially,
this morning he invited people who'd been kicked in the head by a horse to phone in and then played Phil Collins to studio, and I was like, this is why he is our greatest living broadcaster.
Oh, my Lord.
what was that? The local conservative association? I'm trying out for Have I Got News for You. Please, Paul Merton.
Most of the phone-in topics on Jeremy Vine are kind of dog whistling people who've been kicked in the head by a horse. But today was the first time that we really...
He was just really explicit about it.
Went straight on. You know what? Let's just ask them. Let's just ask them. Why are all this dancing around?
Yeah, we're dancing around saying stuff like, who's got the loudest kettle in Northumbria or whatever. But really, let's get to the meat of the problem.
What you could be saying is, there's a sort of silent, if you've been kicked by a head in the horse and think you've got an opinion on the loudest...
By a head in the horse.
On opinion on the loudest kettle in Northumbria, call in. We're like, you know what? We're gonna, like, it's like the system prompt in a large language model. The bit that you don't see, but that structures everything else that you do.
Yeah, taking out the in the Facebook.
Yeah.
It's cleaner.
It's clean. Just head on the horse.
Milo, who's your audience?
Oh, who am I? Well, my audience is an interesting mix of like my true stand-up audience and then like podcast fans who are like, not to say that they're not my audience, but they're not the audience necessarily that my stand-up would naturally in and of itself attract.
Yes, yeah, they've been brought by a third-party vibe.
I totally understand. I did tour support for Tom Davis in Newcastle and then did it for Susie Ruffle the week after and then had a tour show after that. And you could guess spot who had come from the Susie Ruffle show and who had come from the Tom Davis show. Yeah, and it's like ordinarily those two audiences, I'm sure neither of them would mind me saying.
Who's sitting in the Venn
this guy?
diagram?
It's me. But it was so funny to looking out with my audience. It was just like, oh, like all of the lovely weirdos and their bullies have come to the same show, and it was really nice. It was everyone came together. Yeah, it was beautiful. It was really nice.
If I see like a nice looking sort of middle-aged couple, it's from the Frank Skinner audience,
Yeah.
especially if I'm gigging in the Midlands.
Yeah.
I say, because I used to open for Frank Skinner, and they'll go, hey, and I'll go, oh, of course.
Yes.
Neither
That's
one
why
of you is
you're
wearing
here.
a band T-shirt. You're both
So yours
dressed.
are-
Is that your audience? People in band t-shirts?
If the men mainly.
So surprising.
Well, which
No,
bands,
no,
though?
I'm not saying cool. I don't
Like
think you, I
Imagine
think you guys
Dragons.
are hearing that I'm saying I think my audience are cool. No.
It's a metal band T-shirt.
Or like one you've never heard of, or like a reference T-shirt or something.
Yeah.
They're just wearing a T-shirt and shorts because they've gone, well, this is what I wear every day.
Are
Like
they-
me, exactly what I've done today.
Is there a sort of? Do you remember ThinkGeek.com?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
there that
I don't
element? Are
know.
they wearing like a shirt that just says, like I may be wrong, but I doubt it, something like that, like a sort of snarky sysid men.
Not the main type, but I've seen them. I've seen them in there, and I welcome them
Yeah.
because it's still in the right side of the vibe rainbow. Sort of go, yes, that fits with this general. You'll like this.
Here's my question. In fact, this is a question to sort of all four of the sort of stand-up comedians around this table. What group comes in that you're like, oh, that's not right. That's not right at all for me, and I think that's going to mess up my whole vibe.
So on very rare occasions, I remember in my first ever show at the Edinburgh Fringe, I was it was like a room that didn't even have a backstage. You had to stand behind a curtain like a killer, just with your feet sticking out. And I saw two
Like a
guys come in.
musician's assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right before the Fringe, I'd done like a sort of pilot filming thing where I'd had to do some stand-up in Glasgow. And I think that's why these guys came. And they walked in, and I saw them I peeped, and I saw them come in through the curtain. And they were like, each of them was like the size of like a van, like just the biggest men, just so tall and also deep. They were just
Very
so
hefty boys.
massive and
We're
like
talking about x-axis, y-axis, z-axis.
yeah. These guys were they
Fridge
were just
people.
huge, and they both had at that time that the Pleasance, the venue, was selling 2-pint pints. They both had two 2-pint pints. So they
4 total pints.
they both came in carrying 4 total pints in their tremendous hands. And they both had shaved heads and a lot of tattoos and wearing massive like Celtic football club shirts. And I thought, I don't know.
Your audience
What-
are more of a Rangers vibe.
Yeah. Always the unionist crowd love me.
You don't any sectarian violence breaking out.
You're like, let's bring the Isle of Man into the Union.
That's it. Yeah. They're very controversial. Yeah. And it's a Celtic place. Oh, it's all happening. No, but they just came in and I just thought, oh no. And they were like the best audience members ever.
This is the other. I've
Yeah.
had that before
That
where I've
happens all the
looked
time,
at a
yeah.
crowd and thought, oh dear. Like you just sort of resigned to the fact, oh, this will not be for you. You've come here by mistake. And then they've been fantastic. I had that a few times last Fringe, actually. And then I've alternatively had the opposite, where I've looked at a crowd and gone, oh my God, if I could design my crowd,
Yeah.
it looks like, they're all in Lucy and Yak. They all are sort of like, and all the boys are in Carhartt.
It's more scarf than
Yeah,
person.
exactly. It's like I'm looking at you, but like, yeah, you've nailed this. We're going to have a great time. And they've been sort of a bit reticent. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you've let me down. It's
You
a great-
can't hear them through all the layers
Yeah.
of scarf and dungaree.
Very much so.
You're
Very
there,
much
You're
so.
there on stage saying, what is the point of your beanies only ending here?
Yes.
If you're not going to laugh at
your
this
little condom hat.
Performing for Captain Haddock.
stuff. Yeah.
My big 3 that I fear, and all of them have pleasantly surprised me, but in general, drunk women who want to woo.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We know drunk women.
I mean, you could have stopped at drunk women. They all want to woo.
They drunk women who want to woo, who think it's a bachelorette party and this is a conversation. Absolutely not.
Yep.
Because I think I do narrative shows and they cannot follow a narrative. They've forgotten what I've said 10 minutes ago.
But
so
you
a
do bring a
callback is
bachelorette
just.
party vibe.
I do. I know, especially with my posters and stuff. Second group that I fear are, I would say, middle-aged women who are like second, third wave feminism, who think it's betrayal to the feminist cause to be as overtly slutty as I am.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, you're setting us back. And then the third group is, okay, I really hope you understand what I mean by this. Young men
Yeah.
who want to fuck me,
Yes.
but are in a group of other young men and don't think I'm hot enough for their friends to know they want to fuck me.
Oh, like what? Sort of shame lusters.
Yeah. So I have.
That would be the German word.
Wait, hang on. What you're setting up is kind of
That's what we're now talking about.
what you're setting up is kind of the opposite of like the prisoner's dilemma.
Okay, so imagine a group of young men,
Yeah.
right? And fundamentally, all they want to do is impress each other.
Yeah.
Right? And for example, I have a joke in one of my sets. The joke is, you have eyes, you'd fuck me. And
Yeah.
some of them have the facial expressions of like, oh, how did she know? And I cannot laugh because if I start laughing, my friends will know that I want to fuck her, and she's not nearly hot enough for my friends to know that I want to fuck her.
Well, they're unsure. They're unsure if their friends would vote on a yes on this
Would
group
it-
choice.
One of the lads, I'm gay like everyone else. I'm not even discussing that in vaginas and such like.
And it's like, yeah, I've cultivated amongst my friends that I only fuck 9s, and here I am fancying a 7. You know what I mean?
Oh, shush.
Look, am I fishing for compliments?
shush.
Sound off in the comments. But it is. They will be comfortable laughing alone, but amongst their friends, they can't let them know that they want to fuck me. Do you know what I mean?
And these are the people you fear them.
I fear them the most.
because
That's such a
they're filled with
specific-
restraint.
They're gonna be quiet to prove a point. To not give
Genuinely,
me the satisfaction.
I fear gaggles of teenage boys in the street more than any other
Oh
demographic.
yeah, that's not gig related.
You could have some. Yeah,
What,
well,
if
that's
a
what I mean.
gaggle of teenage
Genuinely,
boys comes in?
absolutely. You could have
Yeah.
a guy walk towards me.
You want to fuck me?
I'm a solid 7. If you could have someone walking down a dark alley with a machete, I would feel less threatened than like 9 14-year-olds.
Oh yeah.
There's something
Yeah.
like deep rooted that's just like
one guy with a machine.
yeah. There's something so deep rooted about seeing a group of like the in-betweeners come towards you.
Because they
Yeah.
see something in you and they don't have the sort of social knowledge to not point it out.
Sure, and also they don't have the awareness yet that what they're about to shout or do is criminal. Like
Yeah.
you know, like there's something really kind of like there's something edgy about someone who doesn't know better yet.
Yeah.
They terrify me.
Yeah, they're scary.
No teens at the gig.
No, also funny you say that. Whenever we're asked to do restrictions, so we can, or there's a difference between restrictions on shows and like recommendations or
Advisory,
guidelines.
yeah.
Yeah. And I always
So mine's are 9s and above.
Yeah.
I'm not performing for August.
I always now do 18 plus restriction because even though I know there's nothing in my show that a 16 or a 17-year-old couldn't enjoy and handle, whatever.
You
but
just
what
don't
it
feel like being
does-
bullied.
I just don't feel like being bullied. I don't want to be scared in my workplace. No, it makes the rest of the room, every time you say something that is like a little bit or more adult than for a 16 or 15, 16-year-old, the rest of the room goes, oh, there's a kid in here.
Yeah.
And it makes them less likely to relax and understand. Even if the parents are there and they're like, we're fine,
If
it
they're
doesn't
in,
matter.
You got to hide them at the back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if
Absolutely.
you can, that's definitely true.
We've got sort of like the kid bleachers, and the comedian has access to a button that will close off the kid bleachers for this punchline.
Or even they
You know.
they can
That would
hear,
be ideal.
Just come down.
but they can hear it. They can hear it because they've got whatever cool parents.
I
But
can't
they-
believe she said, you have eyes, you'd fuck me to that 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, to be clear, I wouldn't fuck you. You're allowed to want to fuck me.
Yeah.
yeah,
But it only goes one way.
yeah.
You're sort of really trying to talk yourself out of something, and that's the definition, I think, of digging up when it comes to that kind of charge.
The groups that I fear/know will hate it, or like fear, it's Hindu, any Hindu, always bad.
Yeah, because you'd be rocking a boner.
As soon as you see
Can't be
that,
performing with a tent in your
Realize
pants.
I can't go to the dry cleaners and have this stitched back together. These trousers I've exploded through because of these fine women.
Raping chocolate willies off my balloon.
as you just see sort of a group of women walk in, one of them wearing a big L plate. You're just, well, I guess another ruined show.
Yeah.
A job for my tailor.
The most worrying, and you think this is going to be heckle time.
Like, I'm doing my wet food bit,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
shouting out back at me.
Yeah, you're agreeing too much,
Yeah.
or just
You're like,
wooing.
yeah, the food is too wet here.
The worst one though is like 4 or 5 like blokes. Often like not all in football gear because then they've walked into the wrong room. Like one in a football shirt. and that they, as they come in, they're laughing in that kind of angry, performative way that you would laugh if you were cast as a tavern extra.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Like with bared teeth. You just go, this is gonna. They're filled with like aggression, and they're like, yeah, let's go out and find something we can fucking ruin. Like that's what they're doing.
The distracting
wouldn't
laugh.
consciously-
You know what? It's the Viking impulse. Really, it's like we're going to cruise up and down, sort of north, like Scotland and sort of the Outer Hebrides or whatever, trying to sort of pillage the vibes from stand-up comics,
From
who are in
good
many
vibes.
ways the monks of our day.
But they see it like they've watched loads and loads of Jimmy Carr videos, and they think stand-up comedy is where we go and we try to like bully the person, and if they're rude enough back, then it's like a draw, and then that happens for an hour, and then we go home.
And that's only been inflamed by like crowd work clips.
Yeah.
But it's funny you say that with the like performative laugh or like conspicuous laugh. It's the hardest kind of on the comedian's hazard perception test. It's one of the hardest things because you don't literally want to call someone out for laughing.
Stop laughing wrong.
Yeah, but it's also
Only-
the worst.
It is true.
It's so
Only
hard.
Pierre could, I think, get away with that
Stop laughing.
response to a heckle. You're laughing wrong.
Your laugh is incorrect.
Your la-
Consider revising.
Revise and resubmit your laugh for peer review.
Pierre, how do you handle hecklers?
I'm very well. What kind of heckle?
Like a negative one, like you
I'm
said.
very cruel.
Are you actually?
Yeah, really.
Oh my god, I would
Let's go.
love to see
Really?
that.
The only person I can easily think of who's seen me do it is Sarah Barron, the comedian Sarah Barron. She and I were sharing a preview a year or two ago in the Camden Comedy Club, and like so many people came by mistake. 2 different stag do's came.
Okay.
One,
Did they start fighting each other?
Nightmare,
but like
nightmare.
they just Googled Camden comedy cheap and just came to whatever it was, and it was like, this is like an hour of spoken word by a single person who's got notes on stage, and then that again, and they were like,
Pierre
what?
Novelli's cheap night out.
Yeah.
It was very hard to preview.
Yeah, but it's a massive fuck up by the best men.
And then like Pierre Novelli presents Time Out #1 comedy show for stag do's. An hour of spoken
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
They were the best of men, they were
Yeah.
the worst of men.
My show Free Drinks has a lot of
My show, ladies 2-for-1 shots.
Pierre Novelli's Let's Get a Bag In.
do you have any numbers? That's my show.
Pierre Novelli
4 a.m. show at
That
the
was what
at
Countdown
the
was
nightclub.
originally called.
Pierre Novelli presents Mate Got Any Charlie.
Yeah. But
Now
then,
playing in the bathroom of Infernos.
of the 2 stag do's, one looked like a group of men who were in a sort of Spinal Tap tribute band, a lot of long hair and mustaches and like interesting alternative fashion choices. But they looked a lot more like we all did blow before we came out. And the other group looked like nice young men. They were much worse than nice young men looking ones, obviously.
Obviously.
But it got to the point where I didn't do a preview at all. I just did aggressive crowd work for about 40 minutes. And it got to the point where one of them whispered something to his friend, and I went, "Oh, what's it?" And as I went back to address him again for like talking again, he went, "Oh no, not again!" And was like genuinely said that out loud. Like now I have to have my appearance and education level criticized again by this,
Oh, so
by
you
this
go in.
velvet bully. No, I was really horrible. The rudest I've ever been was to a lady who answered a phone call in a comedy club gig in a nightclub in central London. She just full on answered the phone,
What'd
and
she
even the whole
say?
crowd just went, "Boo, boo!"
Yeah.
But like really, like full on, like "Hello."
Sorry, I can't
then she-
talk
I'm
about
in
it.
comedy
Yeah,
gig.
genuinely.
No,
She-
no, it's fine. I'm just looking at a comedy gig.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. No, tell me.
And so I sort of,
I'd fuck him, yeah. I've got eyes, I've got eyes.
I made
Mostly velvet, and he's got quite a tent.
he's sweating. I made her hang up, and I said, "Did you just answer your phone in the middle of a show?" And the audience went, "Boo, boo, boo!" And I said, "No, don't." I said something like, "Don't boo her, because let's be fair. When all of you were growing up and learning how to behave, and like manners and things, she was in the woods truffling for mushrooms, like
Oh
the
my
hog,
God,
like the
Pierre!
hog that she is."
You called her a hog?
She was
What
in
the
a
actual fuck?
she was in a ditch somewhere snuffling for grubs. So she never had the chance to learn how to behave in public.
Oh Oh my
How did she take that?
She was barely listening. She was
Okay,
so
yeah.
drunk. She was the rest of the audience laughed, and because everyone else laughed, she sort of went, ah. Just
oh my, that
all the
is
cruelty just
brutal.
ricocheting off her like an acorn off a tank. Just absolutely immune to critique.
I think the simplest response to that kind of heckle, where someone is just being outrightly rude or like talking, insane.
Yeah.
And I said this to someone last weekend. I just went, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
they
that's good.
immediately realise
They go, "No,
the
I've-
dynamics
I've been
that...
judoed.
Yeah.
She's using my own rudeness.
Yeah.
She's flipped me over.
Yeah, now the rest of the room think I suck.
I remember one of the funniest heckles I've seen was friend of all, Tom Walker, Australian comedian Tom Walker, was doing his last show in Edinburgh, and there was a guy in the audience. It wasn't actually a heckle, it was just like an odd thing, sort of very ostentatiously reading the Edinburgh like comedy guide thing. And then Tom obviously was like, "You are at a show currently. If you don't need to find one, you are at one."
Yeah.
And then he said, "Oh, sorry, I was just doing that so you wouldn't see I was on my phone." So he was hiding the phone in the guide.
Like someone
hiding
Like a prisoner.
like hiding like a White Dwarf magazine inside your textbook.
but like
No, I'm not
kind of
doing this
thing.
bad thing. I'm doing a worse thing.
Yeah.
Doing a different
I thought if I was being antisocial but analog, it might be fine.
I took the police came around and I had a spliff, so I just put it in the barrel of my gun. And then they wouldn't stop me.
I'm not pointing a gun at you. I'm showing you the drugs that I'm intending to dispose of. I keep it in here.
That is insane. That is insane
It was
behavior.
great.
Milo, who do you fear? Oh, sorry.
Mm.
Yeah.
Look, Miley, you go ahead. I only have podcasts to talk about, right? And podcast audience is different from comedy audience because they're there really to see you. The main risk you have there is because when you listen to a podcast, the experience of it, as I'm sure the experience of this is like, I'm just a quiet member of this conversation. And so sometimes,
Yeah, I can fancy whoever I like. There's no other men here to judge me.
so sometimes, especially because like TF, it's quite like politically charged and stuff. People get like sort of amped, and so they'll like really leap in to sort of really hit the button on like a point, and it can really step on a punchline. Like they're helping.
Okay.
They're so excited to help. And bless them. I don't begrudge them it, but it does sometimes. It happens like once a live show, maybe sometimes none, up to once, maybe. I think it's happened twice, once.
That's the equivalent of the helpful laugh.
Yeah, it's like hey, I'm getting in there, and then you just have to be like the audience mic is to pick up your reaction so the room feels full. We can talk after, that's fine. Sorry, that's not funny. That's just how it is.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. I totally get that.
Who do I fear? For me, it could be anyone. The devil takes many forms. Honestly, like it's so hard to predict. I feel like this stuff I do is
Milo's
so-
answer is the public.
Yeah.
I'm terrified.
Well, they can't be trusted.
They can't be trusted.
Yeah, because it can really go in any direction. Like I can get like a right wing crowd can be bad. Like a really liberal crowd can be bad.
Yeah.
You get into all kinds of weird, and occasionally I'll make strange allies. Like I was doing a Friday night at the Comedy Store in Sydney, and it was just like those gigs are like they're notoriously brutal because it's just like it's not full. People are very Australian in the sense of being quiet as fuck and sat there going like, "We've come to be entertained," and then the other comments like, "Oh, there's a stag do of people from Glasgow in." And I was like, we could be unlikely bedfellows.
Brothers!
and the MC said, he's like, "Oh, you're from Scotland. This next guy, he's from London. You're gonna love him." And I just came out and I went, "He doesn't know how wrong what he said is." And they were like, losing it, and I was like, "Yes, we've got it. We're on the
So the rare sort of positive stag do.
Yeah.
Really.
It can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen.
Yeah, it was
Sometimes
beautiful.
nerds get married too.
No, it's good.
It's true. To one of my whips, in Monkey Barrel, half the audience was a stag do that bought tickets specifically for my whip because one of them heard me on Radio 4. I was like, this is the saddest stag do.
They're all
I've ever fucking
bisexual men.
Yeah.
I once talked to sort of 18 strong Hindu out of coming into a show. I stood at the door and I talked to them for 12, 15 minutes to get them to not come in.
You need to do the real comedy pro move, is to identify the nearest by comedian that you like the least. And be like, you know who you'd like.
I thought you meant nearest by comedian. I'm like, I'm right here.
Yeah, I was going to say. But this was a whip in central London on Platinum Jubilee Saturday
Have you guys
at
considered-
1 p.m.
Have you guys considered checking out Simmons?
Genuinely, they'd come from a bottomless brunch. They were absolutely reeking. And they'd just seen free comedy. And it was at Top Secret, so maybe they'd thought, oh, Top Secret's always like a fun, rowdy time, even, 1 p.m. on a Saturday. And this was a preview of the show where it's called Why Can't I Just Enjoy Things? And at the end, it's like, well, one of the reasons I hate all the things that normal people like is because I'm autistic. So I was like, I don't think a Hindu will be conducive to
I
really
remember-
sharpening the message of this
Yeah, and I remember how this
a grumpy show by an autist.
40 minutes on an Asperger's diagnosis really
Yeah.
brighten up.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about neurodivergence? Woo, yeah! Talk to Susan. She's dyspraxic. Just screaming. But they were already covered in like angel wings and dicks and fucking glitter, and it was a nightmare.
London is a uniquely depressing place to celebrate your upcoming marriage. It is. I don't know what is more depressing.
That's not the new tourist board slogan.
A uniquely depressing place.
Visit London, a uniquely depressing place.
To celebrate
your
love.
upcoming
Sadiq
marriage.
Khan.
Because if you think about it, we talked about like stag and hen do activities before in this show, largely because I think we're all of stagging and henning age.
We're now stagging and henning prime.
Well, that's true. I mean, by the time this comes out, I'll be fianced, all things going well, and
And if I could suck a dick straw every day of my fucking life.
Dick is a straw, really.
you, I mean,
Hey.
you can just buy those for your house.
Yeah.
It's
true.
frowned upon, but you can.
But I see often, especially through central London, I used to see it more before COVID, is groups of people on stag and hen do's grimly marching through Soho.
Yeah, with a kind of determination you normally only see on D&V expeditions.
Yeah, just like this, just ashen faced, sort of 6 to 12, sort of men or women. It's clearer with the women because you dress up the bride to be and stuff, like an L perm, a sash, a thing, and so on. You can tell when it's
To be fair, you can usually spot the stag because he's also dressed in a sash and skirt, usually.
What does the L permit mean?
learner's permit.
But like, what does it mean?
Well, it's like you're
she's learning to be a wife?
I guess that the implication is like, oh, she's not.
I wear one every time I suck dick. So then he thinks I'm learning, but I'm actually really good. So he's like, "You're amazing for a virgin."
The analogy would be that so other dick suckers are more cautious around you. They give you more space and more time.
Also, like,
decisions.
you're not allowed to do it alone for the first 6 months. Like,
Another woman kneeling behind you going, hurry up, love! Oh, she's got places to be! Look, she's not even touching the gooch. We're going to be here forever. Look. You've got to tickle the balls, love. Listen, fucking hell, it's clear.
just playing a clown horn. Beep beep.
To be fair, I've heard that shouted in various traffic jams, regardless of the context. It's sort of obscene abuse.
But the saddest thing I ever saw was a stag do coming up Bishopsgate for some reason, and it wasn't pouring with rain, but it certainly was a kind of steely drizzle in like April, and there were a bunch of guys in costume silently doing a like one of those multi-pedaled bar bikes
Oh, fuck.
with what were clearly plastic glasses of lager, and then like Katy Perry playing quite loudly. Otherwise, personally, each of them silent.
The Katy Perry is very funny.
That's really funny. And
Yeah, what says the lads more than Teenage Dream?
they're all looking at each other like,
I kissed a girl. I liked it.
and they're all having to face each other like paratroopers.
Yeah.
Staring into each other's face, grim determination.
So jumping off one by one.
It's green!
Rolling.
Flipping back out of
It's
it.
like I've never seen anybody have a good time on a bar bike.
I have to
ever.
throw this out there. For some reason, it's less frowned upon to have alcoholism if you're doing another activity during being an alcoholic, right?
Well, that's why
But
they
also-
invented like hunting and rowing and stuff.
Right.
Cricket.
But being on a bar bike and drinking, being on a bar bike is the worst thing you could do while drinking. Being at a comedy show is the worst thing to do while drinking. Yeah,
Especially people on cocaine. Even worse, you want to talk. You don't want to listen.
Yeah.
there's so much pressure to do a thing while drinking, so it's not just drinking.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
activities that are paired with drinking are the least drinking-friendly activities ever.
Yeah,
You
well-
should not be on a road holding a beer.
During my 10-15 minute debate with the big hen do,
Yeah.
they
In the pocket of Big Hendo.
yeah
This house believes that
Yeah.
this entity should not enter the
but genuinely, I was having to engage in sort of a Socratic debate with these very drunk women.
But verily, Linda.
But have you asked this question? And I was saying no, it's
Rightly,
a work.
Mr. Novelli, I cannot say.
Yeah. I said it's a work in progress, so the show's not ready yet. And they went, "That's okay. We'll help you. We'll give you things to talk about."
Oh, work in progress. I got my ill plate on.
Yeah, that's it. It was a lot of that. Yeah.
That's really good.
Isn't there a part of you that was like, I could throw away this whip and just see what happens here?
No, because I've done this dance 1,000 times. It's like, oh, I wonder what will happen if I drink a whole bottle of vodka. So, well, you'll throw up. You have a bad time. You answer that question once, maybe twice when you're young, and you never answer that question again. I've dealt with so many Hindus over the years. It's not like, wow. And within that Hindu, unbeknownst to me, was the greatest thinker of our time. It's not true. They're going to
Yeah.
scream and woo, and they're going to talk
Maid
to
of
each
Honor
other.
had a pullback and reveal that I just hadn't seen coming.
Yeah, exactly. The mother of the bride came up to me with these great notes, just like,
Rule of 3.
Pull back and reveal from a Hindu is always worrying.
Yeah.
yeah. But if the second they get bored of what you're saying, they talk to each other very loudly because you're just like another person they've hired throughout the day. The nail technicians, the butler in the buff, the person driving the beer bike, you're all just...
And they're all you.
And they're all me. That's all part of the show.
The butler in the buff driving the beer bike, of course.
But also, whenever they, again, one of the most, I'm going to start that again. One of the trickiest challenges is the positive heckle.
Yeah.
Or where they're like, oh my God, woo, that's amazing. Or they like turn to their friend and they're like, it's like when you did that. And it's like, they're not being negative, but how do you?
Yeah, if I now tell you off, I look awful.
Yeah.
I find it helps to turn to them and say thank you with a completely blank face. Because then you're saying the right thing, but everyone gets the idea that actually they shouldn't do that again. So they go like, wow, that's right. Thank you.
But what you haven't...
Thank you for that. Like some sort of, like a politician who's
Like you're
not sure what to
hosting
do.
news night.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
Or just go, oh yeah, exactly. Or just, And they go back to talking away from them and they go,
you gotta do the slow head turn.
do.
Anyway,
Yeah, then they get the idea.
I'm learning a lot
I
here.
sometimes just look at someone and go, okay.
Oh!
Particularly if they're just doing something weird, where like you can't even fit it into the matrix of like what their problem is.
That's
That would fully make me cry.
That's the worst.
Really?
Yeah. You just saying it just now made me quite upset.
That's the worst. Heckler's drunk and sort of just like rambling because you can't be witty about someone just going like blah, 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 blah. Like you can't turn in someone's words against them if they haven't said any words.
Yeah. Well, that's the tactic they're using.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a filibuster. Like they can just keep doing bear noises, and they know that you have no put downs for that.
No, not
Oh,
for
are
noises.
you gonna hibernate next?
You could
I
do
hope
like,
so.
you could do one joke about it, and then everyone goes, "Oh yeah," and then if they just keep doing it, they haven't socially decided they've lost.
Yeah.
They just keep going. Blah, blah, blah.
This is something that I've discovered. You're please feel free to use this whenever you have a heckle that you can't put in any bucket, but you want to shut it down. Sorry, I don't fuck fans.
Oh,
Nice.
much more frightening coming from my face, though. much more upsetting.
I don't fuck fans. I make love.
Just, I wouldn't be able to stop myself from saying it in a kind of angry tone as well. It would sound really horrible. Be like annoyed. No, I'll stick to whimsy up to a point, and then sudden bullying.
Oh man.
Sudden
Yeah, I just call him
comments.
a hog. Thanks, Olga, but I'll just call him a
I'm
hog.
just going to keep calling them hogs and implying they were raised in the woods, I think.
The worst heckle put down I think I ever had to do was this gig was going so bad. It was at a black tie ball in Cambridge at like 2:00 in the morning, and I had gotten up.
See, that was
Yeah,
your
do
that
the
was your
show.
problem right away.
Yeah.
Like, you-
oh, Huge problem. We were
that
next to drum and bass. Like, it was not good.
No one's there to
you-
see comedy.
You
Yeah.
were just trying to get a free ticket to the Mayball.
No, I was getting paid. I wasn't even had a ticket. So here's the other problem.
But you didn't have a ticket. You had to get escorted out of the
Oh
premises.
yeah. I was not in black tie. So I'm immediately not being taken seriously. I think they thought I was like the sound guy or something. And then this room is like,
If he was a proper comedian, he'd be wearing a bow tie.
you're right.
He'd
They
be
were honestly
doing
people
rhyme-
of that age in the audience.
Of course.
He'd be doing some rhyming Catskills material.
That's right. We're doing good old music hall stuff. I'll be doing one of those ones where they're crossing the jokes off a blackboard.
why, I believe this is the vaudeville.
That's right. And so yeah, I'm up there, and the room is incredibly brightly lit. It's about half full, but half full is still like 40 people. It's like enough people in theory, but you can sort of faintly hear drum and bass. It's not looking great. A lot of the people in there are like over 60. And then, but there's like also a lot of like 18-year-olds there. It's that weird thing you only get at university ball.
Yeah.
And so I get up there. It takes me like 2 minutes to like wrestle even the attention of the audience. There's like fuck an atmosphere. We're not getting an atmosphere, but people are at least listening after 2 minutes.
Well, it's because the 60-year-olds is like they're probably kind of tired by now, and the 18-year-olds have already started doing cat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then there's like an 18-year-old boy and a girl down the front in their like black tie, whatever. And then just as I'm exhausted, I've got the attention of the audience, and then he starts doing like heckles, but like the fully like your shit heckle, like no even attempt to be humorous, just aggression.
Yeah.
And then I just went, and not even particularly funny, I just went like aggression back, and I was like, look man, I don't know what you're trying to achieve here, but like you're really embarrassing yourself. And I look at the woman sat next to you. She is so embarrassed to be seen with you right now. And then he, in an attempt to diffuse this, went, actually, that's my sister. And immediately, just pure reflex, I went, well, you shouldn't be fucking her then. And it's like, I've never seen something split a room so much. It's just kind of like this kind of like roar of like, and all I could think of to do, I just started stamping up and down the stage, going, "Are you not entertained? This is not why you were here." And like 15 people walked out.
Great.
Yeah.
See, he was an
Distill the
inexperienced
room.
heckler where he just handed you the weapon to kill him with.
Yeah.
Actually, it's my mum. Actually, I'm wearing my dad's clothes. Like, so I bet you feel pretty stupid right now for implying I had a date to this event. Fucking hell. You feel there, you can't make anything out of this. Me seeming like I'm on a date with my sibling. There's no humor to be had there at all. It'd be a terrible
I've
situation.
cleared all the pawns, those troublesome pawns from in front of my line, and now my king is able to strike in any direction.
I said my sister, not stepsister, step aunt, or anything like that.
It's the whole route is just people drinking at stuff they shouldn't be drinking at, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's.
I think these people are like that anyway.
I'm wasted. What do you think is in this mug?
I mean, what other? Okay, so comedy shows,
Yes.
bar
bike.
bikes.
Things you shouldn't be drunk at.
Like, well, where else are we drinking that we could probably have? I mean, driving, obviously, but that's more of an America thing. What I think it's like,
I'd say like gambling, probably not
oh,
great.
Yeah, of
You
course.
shouldn't be like risking all of your money while drunk.
'Cause it was like when I first moved to the UK, I lived in like a friend's parents' house.
Mhm.
And the only place near us that was open for drinking past like 2 a.m. was a gala casino.
Yeah.
And so,
Fantastic.
it was, and we'd go, and I had a friend, who I think a couple of you might have met who came to my, my barbecue recently.
What's their name?
sorry, there's another one coming, but this might be out after that, so that's fine. We have to cut this.
The guy with a throwing star under his lapel.
Yes.
Most insane person I've ever
Well, that's an
fucking met in my entire
incredible.
life.
If we bleep the name, can we please keep that in?
Yeah, we actually can.
Can we please keep that in? 'Cause that's the maddest fucking. If you had given me 1,000 years and said, what identifying characteristic do you think? Even if you'd given me the person with the blank under the lapel, I could never have guessed throwing star.
Honestly, it was like a first draft Bond script from the
Look, look.
70s. The man with a throwing star under his lapel.
I don't want to go into anything more about this guy.
Okay.
We know enough.
Well, nor should you, because he clearly is a ninja and will kill you in the night if you're.
Like the opposite of a sheriff, wearing the star under the lapel.
Yeah.
It's a shot.
Again,
Subtle.
Again, I only bring him up because we'd be like out, whatever. We'd come back home. We'd be like, let's go for one more at gala. And after sort of enough like cocktails, I was drinking a lot of cocktails at the time. I wasn't drinking a lot of wine. I was under the malign influence of my sort of naff friends.
How did the casino feel about the
the way
various
that
nunchucks and things that he was
Riley
obviously?
always speaks to me as if I've just injected him with truth serum. He's all like, I can't lie. I was having a lot of cocktails at the time.
He's a real mimosa guy.
Where he learned all the sort of Cockney knife fighting skills that have seen him through the dramatic life he's led. Sort of underground boxing and.
Only because there weren't any elite boarding schools in the East End, of course. Otherwise, I'd have gone to the Whitechapel Geezer Academy.
I was first attracted to the Cockney aesthetic when I heard them talking about their manners. Turns out it was a metaphorical term for a local area, but I was hooked by then.
Yeah, it's me.
What booze did they supply you with?
So they were.
Gritchy.
Gritchy. Yeah, I was going to say
Gritchy?
pure Gritchy.
There was so much Gritchy.
So much Gritchy. Limitless
There was a lot of Gritchy.
I'm going on the Gritchy website. But
It must have been like
We were
going
hitting
for
the Gritchy.
going for
Yeah.
dinner in like North Korea, which is his face on everything. Like, and some dear leader pancakes, lovely.
The
Thank
funny
you.
thing was that there's a
Guy
really
Ritchie's North Korea. It's such a funny concept.
Yeah,
what just like internal security's just like knuckle duster guys.
yeah.
Now
but,
glorious geezer.
Jason Statham
The
wearing one of the
eternal
big hats.
legend.
But the thing has a huge design flaw, which is that it's like there's these fires burning in the middle of it, sucking all the smoke into a chimney and stuff, right? Because it's like a table, but it's made of copper that has these barbecues in the middle of it, and the smoke gets drawn up. So I had a glass of water on there, and I was like, this was still water. Why is it bubbling? Because it's slowly boiling. And it was like hot. It was there was like that brief period of heat in like early June, right, that we had before it became summer again, and it was boiling. And they were very generous with like the booze pairing, right? And so everyone was just absolutely chucking it back because it was like it's so hot, and the water they've given us is boiling. The only thing that's not directly connected to the hot copper is something that's served in stemware because it's being kept off the heat. So it's the only thing. You can
Who wants to
drink.
gather around my boiling table? It's a kind of
Just 12
molten.
of you invited to a man-made lake with a fire in the middle of it. It sounds like Midsummer. It sounds like you.
a lot of things that Riley does. I'm not going to lie to you.
It sounds like you were invited into Ari Aster's film Midsummer. Like that's insane. Did all of you leave?
We all did leave. I think a little worse for wear.
I'd say
I
most.
need to read
yeah.
some stuff from this website.
Oh, yes.
So, every beer is like a name of an angel. And so
Like an actual, like a biblical.
our
It's
beers,
a biblically accurate beer.
our beers are based
Be not
upon
afraid.
the loric traditions of England and word of mouth customs passed on through generations. Our beers and their angelic counterparts represent the relationship of communal drinking and the ritual of enjoying a pint of ale or lager in a British pub around a table, or enjoying solitude and being lost in thought.
Right.
But my favorite bit is in the Meet the Team section. Guy Ritchie is referred to as the boss, and it says Guy continues to be an integral part of the business and a committed beer drinker.
Good.
Loves a pint as our guy.
Good. He's one of the few.
Unbelievable
One of
stuff.
the few action movie men who
that
likes
is
beer.
Where, if you scroll, that is where. Oh, sorry. That's where it was. Was like at the
I hear
brewery,
ya.
and then you get driven down.
Wow.
It was really funny, but
And then the desserts were served inside this big bear. Go and sit in this bear. Yeah. I was there too.
I'd say most events that you go to sound like things that are going to end in like a
Yeah.
murder mystery or a sacrifice.
Oh,
or
yeah.
A ritual.
Party in Sweden.
Yeah.
So
Did you ever go
November-
to the eel party?
No, I didn't go to the eel party.
Aww.
November from Trash Future once did say that I seem to live quite a bit of my life in Hitman levels.
That's